Granddad never mentioned that there were men as dark as this. Wow, look at that nose. He's just like a pig. He's a monster! Hi!
In today's episode, I'm joined by an Asian woman who wrote the article Dating or Discriminating. I'm going to put a link of the article in the description, but I want to first thank you for joining me today.
Hi, yeah, thank you so much for having me.
So first off, I want to ask, what made you decide to write this particular article?
I was in college, and I think if you read the article, I point to a specific encounter that made me angry, so that's why I wrote the article. But I was on the college newspaper board, and I was able to, I guess, be in a position to use that platform.
Okay. About that encounter, the article talks about a girl who said that she wasn't into Asian men. What was your initial reaction when you heard her say that?
My gut reaction was just that I knew that it was racism blended, disguised as a preference. And I wanted to be able to unpack that in an organized manner, and that's why I wrote the article.
Okay. Have you heard other women say that before?
Oh, yeah, of course. And sometimes from Asian women, too, but it's something I've heard before, for sure.
Okay. To what extent do you think that Asian men are disadvantaged in the dating world, and what do you think causes these disadvantages?
So I think we're going to narrow the scope because obviously, if you go to an East Asian country, this issue isn't as big, right? Because it's more homogenous. So I'm going to speak specifically about East Asian Americans in North America, more specifically within the United States. I think the main thing really is racism. So I think the original groups of Chinese immigrants, when the laborers first came, because of racism, they were marginalized in society and forced onto womanly roles in society. So they operated laundromats and ran restaurants. Those are spaces generally dominated by women, and I think it started a long reign of being feminized. And I think Asian women, on the other hand, have been overly sexualized. Because of exclusion, it was actually illegal for Asian men to bring over their wives and families. So the first large groups of East Asian women were actually prostitutes. So I think that's where we get this dragon lady stereotype, and that level of representation from the very beginning was always one steeped in over-sexualization. And I think that has allowed Asian women to, it's something that's seen as an advantage when it's really a form of othering and sexism and fetishization, if that's a word.
Okay. So, if I'm clear, when it comes to Asian men, you think that, I guess, Asian culture has been feminized, which hurts Asian men and helps, well, I wouldn't say help, but it hurts Asian men, basically.
I mean, it hurts everyone, but it hurts Asian men in that specific way because they are utilized as more feminine and therefore less desirable.
Okay.
But I also want to push back on the fact that less feminine women are less desirable. I do think that's also a problematic way to think, but I recognize that that's a way a lot of people think.
That it's that not being feminine isn't attractive.
Correct.
Okay. Speaking about the feminization part, your article also says that the girl who said that she wasn't into Asian men thought Asian girls were gorgeous. What were your thoughts when she said that?
I think it steeps back to Asian women being first sexualized. I think because you can't really talk about these relationships without also looking at sexism. Traits that are considered stereotypically desirable in a woman are, being tiny, submissive, deferential, and I think those are things that are somewhat prevalent in East Asian culture, and I think that translates within the framework of sexism into something that leads to being quote-unquote more desirable.
Okay. So do you think that the concept of finding an Asian woman attractive or yellow fever is, I guess, a turnoff for Asian women or a bad thing?
Oh, I think it's absolutely harmful.
To what extent?
Because it is a form of othering. If someone tries to approach you with the mindset of, I think you are so exotic and that's where I see your value, do you see how that's problematic?
Basically, can you read that again, just so I'm clear? Hello?
Only a disadvantage. Hello?
Sorry, I couldn't hear that last part. I lost you.
Oh, I was saying that it's a disadvantage to be approached because you fit into a fetish.
Okay. So it's basically a fetish that is problematic.
Yes.
Okay. Moving on. I wanted to talk about white male, Asian female. A couple of questions. What are your thoughts on those pairings?
Can you be more specific?
Like, just your thoughts overall on white male, Asian female couples. Like, do you think that there's some kind of issue with it? Do you think that there's a controversy behind it, or is there no problem with it at all?
I think it's lazy to view that in a binary. What is problematic about the dynamics around that relationship is when a white male is an Asian female, and that in a context of the Asian female being constantly deferential and caters to the white man. And I think when dynamics like that support that specific relationship, that's problematic. But on an individual level, if you manage to love someone else without upholding those toxic standards, I think that's perfectly fine.
Okay. So there was a documentary that was done that talked about the issues surrounding white male, Asian female. It was done a while ago, actually, by Michael T. Wynn in 2006. I wanted to take a quote, and I wanted to ask you what you thought about it.
Sure.
It was a quote from one of the Asian women that was asked whether or not, like, why they choose certain races over others. This is from Jury. Well, I think two things. One is because culturally white, male, tall, handsome-looking boys are the ones that are successful. So even if I have a higher GPA or I have more experience, if I'm compared to a guy who's white, who's tall, and who, has that all-American quality, I feel like, like employers would want to hire him over me. She also states the environment as the second reason why she might choose certain races over others. But I wanted to get your thoughts on that quote.
I think it's certainly advantageous. Trying not to be too judgmental is not necessarily a mindset that I ascribe to. She's within her right to do that, but I do think, it's not to be too much of a romantic, trying to find a partner solely based on the economic opportunities that they might afford you. There's a certain word for people who look for partners like that. But that being said, I don't think she alone can speak for all relationships that are like that are, between a white man and an Asian female.
Okay. So just because that's said, that doesn't mean that every white male, Asian female has that dynamic.
Correct. I think she uncovers really important issues that can make that dynamic very toxic. But obviously, I cannot generalize that to every single person in that relationship. I'm in one myself. My fiance is white. And, I think I'm definitely not the stereotypical deferential role. We split housework. He even does more. It's about being introspective. When you have the framework of what can make that relationship toxic, then being introspective and saying, do I uphold those standards? And, in my life, I can say that I do not, and my partner does not either.
Okay. Two more questions. In your article, you cite two studies. One is called Racial Preferences in Dating by Ray Fishman. The New York Times article that you linked to for that study, I read it, it says, Asian women didn't discriminate much by race except for showing a very slight preference for Asian men over Black and Hispanic men. The second study you also cite is from Are You Interested?, which shows that multiple races of men have a preference for Asian women, but that Asian women find Black men to be the least desirable. So given those studies that you cited in your article, do you think it may be difficult for Black and Hispanic men to pursue Asian women, or why not?
So I think a lot of it, again, is rooted in racism. I will be the first to admit that within American Asian communities that there is rampant anti-Blackness. Obviously, not all of us are like that,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't matter that all of us aren't like that. It's still an issue, and it needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be racism, and I think the world in general is just way harder for Black people. Black people are constantly, routinely checked more, perceived as more dangerous, and I think dating is one of the ways in which those problems exhibit themselves. So I view it as a part of a larger issue of racism that they face, and that dating is a part of that.
Okay. And my final question is, given that a racial preference for some Asian women may be considered to be problematic, if you are a non-white male and you feel as though you're facing stereotypes to date Asian women, either through like yellow fever or just anti-blackness, what advice would you have for somebody in that situation?
Well, the first thing I would say to, can I ask a follow-up question? Like,
Sure.
Is the sentiment of someone going, I'm trying to date Asian girls and they won't talk to me, or what's the sentiment?
The sentiment is that white male Asian female is very popular for whatever reason, and even if that wasn't an issue, if you pursue an Asian woman or like you're trying to talk to somebody like who's Asian, they may consider you to be like a red flag because of the idea of yellow fever or the sexualization of Asian women. So they might be thinking, oh, he only wants me because he thinks that I'm sexually promiscuous. And that's like a guard that's up over there.
Okay.
So under those circumstances, what advice would you give to somebody in that situation?
Well, so the first thing is setting expectations. Asian women don't owe you anything. No one when dating owes you anything. That being said, if you do want to make an Asian woman know that you are interested in getting to know them on a level that's not related to the race, then there are ways of showing them, whether that's, treating them like everyone else, asking them questions that are specific to them, and in doing that, being respectful of the culture that they might have, and trying to learn about it, learn the language, whatever it is, in a very respectful way. There are ways of showing someone that you care about them for reasons not related to their race.
Okay, so treat them as an individual and don't make race a big deal.
I actually disagree. It's not that you don't make race a big deal. It's that when you approach race, approach it with sensitivity.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, just so I understand the whole, I guess, the point that you were trying to make. Okay.
At the end of the day, women still don't owe anyone anything, and if you're targeting specifically for Asian women, that's problematic.
Okay. I guess those are all my questions, but I guess the idea that I was getting at is, it seems as though when we talk about these issues of yellow fever, white male, Asian female, that it's not so much about like the women, like men feeling as though women owe them something. It's that a woman may be able to have a dating preference and a man cannot. And there's that double standard, I guess. So that's all, I guess, what I was trying to point out.
Look, if someone doesn't like you because of your race, and that is not a candidate, like a good candidate for you anyway, because that is a bad person. I wouldn't view that as a disadvantage, because it's weeding out someone who ascribes to racist norms. So if someone doesn't date you because of your race, that person's doing you a favor.
Okay.
Yeah.
So those are all my questions. I wanted to thank you for talking about this controversial subject. If you had anything else to add, go ahead. Otherwise, thank you.
Yeah. I did have a question. How did you find my article? Or I guess, what were you looking for?
So I talk in regards on my channel about this particular issue, and it was just an article that came up on a search that I was doing, and I decided to contact you based off of that.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I know this can be a controversial subject given the history and the nature of it, which is why I again thank you for at least having this conversation with me.
Oh, of course. And I recognize that, like, portrayal of this type of relationship has generally been problematic. Like, have you heard of the musical Miss Saigon?
Yeah, and Madame Butterfly.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. Like, I recognize the historical baggage of such a relationship, and in order to proceed, you find for ways in which you do not uphold the parts of the relationship that are toxic.
Yeah. Again, it just feels as though sometimes you can't win in that position because you get automatically labeled as like having a problematic preference, but then the preference on the other side doesn't get equally criticized as much. It's not so much, okay, white male, Asian female is automatically problematic, but I guess what I was saying before is that it's automatically problematic for somebody to have any dating preference as a man, for example, and then the other way around, it doesn't seem to be the same level of critique. That's something that I've noticed. Again, I understand that there are different sides to this. That's the reason why I guess talk about this stuff. So, yeah.
So if I'm understanding your question correctly, it's that you feel like preferences that Asian women have are not critiqued as much?
Well, it's a double standard. That's all I'm saying. Again, I know that this is a controversial subject, but I just wanted to say that it's not about like one particular race of men. It's if somebody who is non-Asian may like Asian women, that is automatically problematic, and that dating preference is an issue no matter what. And there are problems with it. But if an Asian woman says that she has a dating preference for white men, for example, that isn't problematic. That's that double standard that I've seen, and like the resistance to not critique them equally. That's all.
I think there are more nuanced ways to address the question. Adjacency to whiteness has been, I think, in my opinion, an issue within Asian American communities. So, that's one of the ways in which that problem is exhibited is when Asian females exclusively seek out white men in order to gain power through adjacency to whiteness. I think specifically having a fetish for Asian women is another problem. Both are issues, but I definitely think they're different by nature of power and status.
Okay. Okay. No, that's fair. That's understandable. Because there are definitely issues on both ends. I've seen both sides of the coin. So, yeah, that's all I had. Those are all my questions. I'll let you know when the video is up. Again, the link will be in the description. And, yeah, thanks again.
All right, have a good day.
All right, bye.